We're right in the middle of a section that Luke writes to us about displaying Jesus' power. And if you'll remember, one of the things that's different in the Gospel of Luke, Luke is building his argument for Jesus. He's building it to an audience of Theophilus, but he's building it from the ground up. And it's one of those things that we just sit back and we look and we're just noticing him and we're wondering. And the action that's taking place invites us to ask the question, who is this? And once we come up with that answer, then the next logical step is, and what do I do about that? Well, what am I supposed to do about who this person is? So last week we looked at a storm. We actually looked at a painting, a Rembrandt painting. We looked at a storm that took place, and the disciples surely thought they were dead, and yet Jesus saves them through the storm. He rebukes them. He rebukes the storm. The one who created the storm actually saves them, calms the storm. He's in control on both ends of this thing. And it's almost like they felt like they got a new lease on life. It's almost like they were resurrected because we were surely dead in this storm. Jesus, don't you care? We're going to die and you're sleeping. We met a guy that was demon-possessed who had lived among the tombs. And that guy had been given a new life when Jesus cast those demons out of him. And the people weren't so sure about that power, so they said, go on and get out of here. And that man said in his mind, in his whole mind now, said, beg Jesus, let me come with you. It's Gentile territory. And so Jesus leaves from there, and the story picks up right away. That's the reason we know these four stories that we're going to look at, the two this morning and the two last week, they go together because it picks up right away. And before we get to the text, let me just ask you to consider, have you ever been so desperate that desperation carried over into fear? Maybe it was finances. Maybe you just lost a job. Maybe you knew you didn't have the mortgage payment. Maybe you knew you didn't have the car payment. Maybe it was something even more serious. Well, how can it be more serious? Maybe it was the health of a child. And you were desperate. And you cry out. And you would do anything. Oftentimes that desperation comes from a set of fears of what could be, what might happen as a result of this situation I'm in. This morning we're going to meet a couple of desperate people. Where hopefully you'll put their shoes on. Hopefully you'll walk in their steps. But I'm really hopeful that you can experience that without having to go through what they are going through. Because it's just tragic. That desperation, that fear sometimes drives us to do things we would never consider doing. We would never. And anytime the news portrays like a crook or somebody that has robbed somebody, they try to give you the backstory. Well, they did this out of desperation. They did this because of their economic circumstances. Surely the reason they did this, and it's to get you to empathize with them. You say, yeah, I can see that. This morning, I want you to see what the people of Jesus were seeing. I want you to feel what they were feeling. As we get into the text, let's pull up the scripture that Allison just read. It says, now when Jesus returned, where is he returning from? He's returning from having the chaos on the boat, the chaos that was over in that Gentile land where he'd cast out the demons into the pigs. He's returning from a place that said, we would rather have chaos without Jesus than have chaos with Jesus. And so now when he returned, the crowd welcomed him. It was as if Jesus had left and they are coming to the shore looking, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? They were anxious for him to come back. Why did he leave? Why would Jesus take the time to go to a place that even in the midst of his good work for them, even as it's beneficial to them, they're going to reject him? Why would he Why would he go to those people and yet leave the people who are waiting in anticipation for him to come back? The crowd is waiting, and they welcome him, for they were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue. That means he had some important part in the synagogue. And I got to tell you, even today, if you go over to Israel, you will see literally rock posters of rabbis and things like that. They're almost like rock stars. Even though that land is not in some ways religious even, they honor those people that are religious leaders. And this was a religious leader of a synagogue. He probably had duties of organizing things, making sure who was going to be there, making sure the coffee was in place. He had some role in making sure the events of the synagogue took place. Maybe pulling out the Torah scripture and having it there ready and available. But he comes running, and it says he's a ruler of the synagogue. And knowing that, he's identified with a group of people. Mark gives us insight that this group of Jewish leaders, had talked among themselves, and they said, how can we get Jesus? And so Jairus knows that Jesus is on the boycott list. Look, if you want to be in our group, if you want to be in our club, if you want to be associated with us, good Sadducees, good Pharisees, the religious people, you'll stay away from that guy. You'll stay away from him. And yet here, so it's telling us who this guy is, and he comes and he falls at Jesus' feet. Can you see him just breaking through the crowd and just falling at Jesus' feet, grabbing his feet, holding on to him? He implored him. He begged him. He urged him. And you start getting what's going on? You start getting the sense that if he's being seen with Jesus, when it's going to cost him, he's not going to be put in the neighborhood email anymore chain. He's not going to be invited to the parties anymore because he's identifying with Jesus. And he comes and you start getting this, man, what is up? What's going on? It's almost like you want to look and see, is there a dinosaur chasing you or something? And it implores him, he urges him, he's begging him. He says to come to his house. Come to my house. Please come to my house. And there's a sense of desperation. You can feel it. You can feel it. And he goes on, and here's what. For he had an only daughter. Now, he either had one daughter, like I do, 4 boys and a girl, or he only had one child, who was a daughter. But the sense here, he only has one daughter. In fact, I think it tends to be this was his only child. Because this word only daughter is like only begotten, only one. It's the same word that's used in John 3:16. He only had one daughter. And she was about 12 years of age. Think about that 12-year-old. Innocent, playful, enough to do tasks around the house, to help mom, to sit and listen to daddy's stories. It says, and she was dying. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, he wasn't so much chased by a dinosaur as he was fearful. His one and only daughter, his baby girl. When he took her in his arms, he knew, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to watch out for you. No boogeyman will ever come and touch you because I'm going to be here to protect you. And they at 12 years old, he is desperate. She's 12 years old and he's desperate. How in the world can he save her? All the promises that you can sleep at night. There's nothing under your bed. There's nothing in your closet. You can sleep. Because Daddy's here. And Daddy's going to watch. And Daddy's going to protect. All those promises are gone away now. Because she's dying. And you can bet your dollar that the fact of the matter is he had tried everything other than Jesus up to this point. He tried his influence. He tried his power. He tried his money. Whatever he could do, he tried to make sure his baby girl would be well. This is the last stop. This is the last. Jesus, come to my house and come quick, because he is in the process of dying. And Jesus went. Can you imagine? Jesus would have every reason to ignore these guys. These guys had put a block out on him. They had said, just look, do not do anything to raise this guy's profile. Don't invite him into your synagogue. Don't he's causing trouble. But all of those things Jesus didn't harbor. Jesus went. Jesus goes right away. Jesus goes. And for the briefest moment, for a moment now, Jairus has something that he hasn't had maybe for a month. He's got hope. In that one moment, he has hope. And he's going to do it. He's going to come. He's going to come to my house because of my baby girl. He cares enough about me and about my situation to actually act on it. And so it says, and Jesus went. And the people pressed around him. And then it says, and there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years. In the same amount of time that this little Jairus' daughter had been on this earth and grown, there's another woman that's introduced to this story. There's no need to introduce anybody else. We got a 12-year-old girl that's dying, but Luke introduces us and tells us that as this is playing out, there's another woman introduced. And for 12 years, she's had this issue of bleeding. By this issue, we know she couldn't get pregnant. She was barren. It just couldn't happen. And by this issue, according to Old Testament law and ritual, she was seen as being unclean. And she would need to be separated from the crowd. She had this for 12 years. And though she had spent all her living on physicians, you think she was desperate? Everything she made went to pay somebody to heal me. Heal me. Make me better. Make me where I can have a kid. Make me where I can be a part of society. And she is desperate. And though she spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She had done everything possible, and she had come up empty. She's in the same. The only thing she is she's poor. She's poor. Her condition has not improved in any way, shape, or form. And so she's desperate. So she does something she probably would not have done. She goes in this crowd and she says, if I just can mingle in, maybe nobody will see me. She probably had her head covered, and she's trying to get to Jesus. The verse goes on. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her discharge of blood ceased. She could feel something in her body. Something had changed. There's a painting in the village of Migdal in Israel. It's on the Sea of Galilee. It's on the western side of the Sea of Galilee. I want to show you this. This is in the basement of a church. And this is a picture I took back in 2017. So this is a picture, and you can see the Roman soldiers, not Roman soldiers, but the sandals of the people around them. And look at her, she's just reaching out. Just if I just could touch the hem of his garment. And she's reaching out. You go in there, and this is huge. This takes up like this whole wall space, this painting. And you just sit in this room and you look at that. And you think about the story. She is desperate. She is squeezing through. She's trying to get to Jesus. If I can just touch him. Let's go back to the scripture. She came up behind him and she touched him, and automatically her discharge of blood ceased. And Jesus said, "Who was it that touched me?" When I didn't touch him. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Think about the back seat. For years, I thought here's the way you're supposed to drive a car. because that's the way my mom drove our car, because in the back seat, he touched me. He's touching me, Mama. He said, you get on that side and you get on that side. His pants leg is touching my pants leg. He'd be over here like this. And you see how close you could get and not touch. And he said, who touched me? I didn't touch it. Nobody, I didn't touch it. When all denied it, Peter said, that's got to be, here's what Peter's thinking. That's got to be the craziest question ever asked by Jesus. Because this crowd's pushing in. Everybody's touching him. If they aren't touching him, they're trying to touch him. Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you. They're pushing in on you. This is the same word that's used. It's crushing. The word has the idea of crushing. They are crushing in on you. And the movement is going pretty slow. And wait a minute. Who touched me? And then he goes on. But Jesus says, someone touched me, for I perceive that power has gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling. And falling down at Jesus' feet, before him declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him. And how she had immediately been healed. She comes and she falls at his feet. And she declares, go back one slide, go back to that. Because and she declared, when you put this together with Mark, Jesus stops and he wants to know her story. What's your story? In fact, the ESV in Mark says this, she told him the whole truth about her story. The whole story. And it says she declared that in the presence of these people. There's something going on. I won't get into it majorly because I'm still working through it. But there's times in the translation where it goes crowd, people, that type of thing. But most of the time it's crowd. Even in the original language, crowd. Just a crowd of people, just a gang of people. But here it uses the term people. And it's as if her message is being declared to a group of people that are getting ready or have the potential to have something in common. If we talk to this group, this crowd that's here this morning, we could say we're a crowd, but we're more than a crowd. We are a people. Because even though we're from different backgrounds, even though we're from different economic situations, even though we have different education, even though if we're from different geography, we're a people because a people have something in common. And it says here, he uses this word, a people, that he declares her whole story. How long would it take you to tell your whole story to Jesus? How long? 5 minutes? 15 minutes? 30 minutes? She tells the whole story up to that point and how she'd immediately been healed. And look at what it says. The next. And he said to her, daughter. This was a woman that had no one to advocate for her. This was a woman who had been ostracized because of her issue. This is a woman who had been identified by what she had. You know, when you identify somebody like that, when you break them down to a single thing about them, oh, that's the guy that limps. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. That's the guy that with one eye. Oh, I know that guy. That's the guy that drives such a... Oh, I know that guy. It's like you bring them down to that point. We don't even know her name. But Jesus' response, daughter. Whew. That has all kinds of implications. Messiah is calling her daughter. It means she has a home. It means she has a family. It means she has a father. He says, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Or another way to say this, Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. It wasn't the touch that saved you. It was your faith. It wasn't what you did. It was your faith. It was your faith. Because you had the faith, because of desperation, you came to me. Because of your faith, it has saved you. Go in peace. Meanwhile, if we go back to where we started, there's a guy doing like this. There's a guy anxious. There's a guy desperate. While he was still speaking, while Jesus is still speaking to this woman, while he's encouraging her, while he's ministering to her, while he's still speaking, someone from the ruler's house and came, "Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher anymore." How do you handle that? Angry? We were moving. He had agreed to come. When I asked him and he was going to come, and he knew it was my 12-year-old baby girl and he was going to come, and then this woman, why did she have to stop? We could have been there. Why does it seem like there are times when Jesus takes His time? Why does it seem like there are times when we are desperate that it's like we can't get God in a hurry? Come on, Jesus, hurry up. Here's the deadline, and you got to do it now. And Jairus is over there saying, "Tell her story on the way. Come on, let's move it. Let's go. We can come back to her." There's nobody moving. You know why? You know what the crowd is doing now? They are just mesmerized because they're looking at this woman. They're seeing she's been healed. They're hearing their story, and they've stopped. Here's a person that runs their synagogue who's popular, who they say, if there's anybody that Jesus should heal, it's for this family. And all of a sudden, they've forgotten all about his daughter. He hadn't forgotten about his daughter. Trust me, he has not forgotten. And he's just like, it's like everything has stopped. And he's trying to get there, and he's trying to get to her. And Jesus having a conversation. Jesus adopting some woman. This woman has had a problem for 12 years. My daughter has only had 12 years, and that's getting ready to be taken from her. And they said, "It's too late. Your daughter's dead." But Jesus, on hearing this, answered him, "Do not fear, only be saved, and she will be well." It is the exact same phrase. Only believe, and she will be saved. Only believe, and she'll be delivered. And when he came to the house, he allowed no one to enter with him, except Peter and John and James. The other disciples had to stay outside. And the father and mother of the child. They said, let's go in. By this time, because they knew they were on a death watch, there's a crowd of mourners who had gathered around, and their whole purpose was to mourn. It says that in the next verse. It says, "And all were weeping and mourning for her." All were crying out for her. But he said, "Do not weep, for she is not dead, but sleeping." What? These were professional mourners. They'd gone in, they said, "Yep, she's gone." They'd put the fingers on the neck, think, "She's gone." And when Jesus says this, "and they laughed at him." Are you kidding me? In a time of weeping, they're laughing. That's the silliest thing I've heard. Jairus isn't laughing. Why? Because Jairus is desperate. And Jairus has taken desperate measures. And he's at the end of a cliff, and he's looking at his daughter, and all he can do, it's like all his options, there are no good options. She has died now. This is it. This is it. And they laughed at him knowing that she was dead. They knew she was dead. They were positive she was dead. And he goes on. But taking her by the hand, touching her. For a rabbi to come in contact with a dead person, to touch a dead person. It's interesting. For the woman who had an issue of blood, to touch Jesus would have made him impure. It would have contaminated him. That was the thought. Now for Jesus to touch this girl who's dead, he didn't do that. And he calls saying, "Child, arise." And her spirit returned. And she got up at once. And he directed that something should be given to her to eat. She's famished. And she gets up. Well, man, wouldn't it be great if the whole crowd could have seen that? Can you imagine what Jairus and his wife are feeling at that moment? This isn't some laboratory experiment that's done. This is something that hits right where they live. This is something that hits them at every fiber of their being. And her parents were amazed. But he charged them to tell no one what had happened. It's interesting how much these two individuals, even though they were so different, both of them are daughters. Both of them experienced touch. Both of them have 12 years associated with them. And a lot of times we think, when Jesus is helping this person, if you'll just help me, look, my issue's bigger. Theirs is only the color of their car. My issue is bigger. It's whether I even have a car. Their issue is whether they have steak or filet, sirloin or filet. My issue is whether I get to eat. And we say, why doesn't Jesus act? But there's something. That time in the pause when Jairus was sitting there and listening to this woman's story, and all he could think about, we got to get home. We got to get home. We got to get home. God was doing something. God was doing it for that moment. For that moment. And maybe for us, it's desperate measures. It's that sense of fear that God uses to bring us to Himself, to draw us to Himself, where we won't do it on our own. Where we'll realize before we go into it, God, I'm going to need your help on this. When we were taking off, leaving Chattanooga to go to Dallas for seminary, I've told this story several times. It's so much a fiber of setting that time of our lives in place. Gail's driving our Volkswagen Golf. Bobby's driving a truck. They're going to Southwestern Seminary. We're going to Dallas. Missy, Bobby's wife, is driving her car, and I'm driving our truck. And this is in a time before cell phones. Well, Perry Mason had a cell phone, because he had one back in the 60s, but I'm not sure how well it worked. But we didn't have any cell phones back in 1985. And so we're driving, and all of a sudden, we had met together for breakfast. We had prayed, and, here's where we're going to go and all. Well, we hadn't even gotten out of Chattanooga, and we got separated. And Gail's got all our money. And I can't find Gail. So I'm sending, Bobby on ahead, and we're trying to find, nobody. I pull off at a stop, and Missy pulls off at a stop. We don't know where Bobby is. We don't know where Gail is. I said, well, Gail's got all our money. She says, well, I got all ours. We're okay. So we're driving, and all I can think about is, where's my wife? Maybe she doesn't want to go to Dallas, Maybe, I got all our stuff, but she's got all our money, all $22. She's got it. And I can remember, I think it was exit 100, that we're sitting, because what we would do is we'd get gas, and then we would stop, and Missy and I you stay on my bumper. You watch at the exit, watch to see if they come by. Because we're trying to drive ahead, get faster and faster, because surely they're ahead of us. And you stop just in case they're behind. And I had a flat tire. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm desperate. They got to fix this tire. They got to plug this tire. They got to do this. And we get that, and then I go down. She's got to get gas, and we're sitting there, and Bobby pulls off at the same exit. And I'm happy for them because Bobby and Missy are going to remain married. But I'm happy, but I want Gail. And so I'm pulling down there and I'm waiting. And here comes this little Volkswagen Golf. And she backs off. And it was like in the movies. She's running. I'm running. We're crying. And we all get together at the exit. And right there, I turned and said, we had prayed, God, meet us in Dallas. We got it from here. Meet us in Dallas. Don't have to worry yourself with this. Meet us in Dallas. And I said, God, forgive me. I need your help getting out of the city I've lived 6 years in. I can't even get out of the city I've lived 6 years in. But it's that desperation. It's that desperation that makes you jump. It's that desperation that leads us to Jesus. It did for Jairus. It did for that woman. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. But Jesus being in the equation, in both the boat, in the Gentile country, with Jairus, with the woman with the issue of blood, what Jesus brings to the table is something we desperately need. Hope. Jesus brings hope. Jesus brings hope to hopeless situations. Jesus brings resurrection to situations that are doomed for death. And that's the desperate measure. That's the desperate measure. We step in to Jesus. Let's pray. Father, I pray that we would know your concern for each of us. I pray that there are times where we feel like we are overlooked, we're ignored, that we don't matter. In fact, when you see us, you see sons and daughters. Help us to realize that it is faith in your finished work that makes us well. Help us to realize that these desperate moments that we go through can be opportunities for us to learn of you and to trust you and to walk with you. Continue to transform us to be more like Jesus, in whose name I pray. Amen. Amen.